the Laramie City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, September 16, 2025. And if you would like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
He's here.
Bowling.
Here.
Freed.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Behill.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Cumby.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Karen Bard, Chair of the Albany County Historic Preservation Board. I'm aware that from the City Clerk that you have received a letter notifying you that the west side has been officially put onto the Historic Register of National Historic Places. So we are very happy about that. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your financial support in making that grant happen and give you a quick update. We are now in the process of trying to put the plaque together. We are waiting to proof that. As soon as that's proofed, we'll get that into the line for it to be made, and then we'll be setting up the event to have that unveiling of that nomination. So I just wanted to let you know how it went. And again, also, I just wanted to mention that the contractor that we chose to do that did an exemplary job. This nomination went through with absolutely zero hiccups all the way up to the national level. So thank you for your support, and we will keep you informed as to when that unveiling ceremony will happen. So thank you.
Well, Karen, on behalf of council, thank you for your work, for your organizing the group to come forward. And we really appreciate that this has happened. Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Commissioner Gosar.
Good evening. It's Pete Gosar tonight. I would like to tell you all thanks for working on those non-sexy things like infrastructure that you got a bunch of blowback from, I'm pretty sure, especially the stormwater drainage. As a resident in my day job down at 2nd Street, there are 2 buildings I'm very familiar with that were the recipients of days like today and the water flowing downhill. In my 10 years, 6 times we've cleaned up floodwaters. And just last year at the Albany County Public Health, we remediated a mold issue that was responsible because of stormwater drainage. And that remediation was in the tens of thousands of dollars to make that accessible. So thank you all for taking that on that work. And I really do appreciate you paying attention to the investments in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate your speaking on that. Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Okay. Is there a public request to remove a consent agenda item and place it on the regular agenda? Seeing none, I move to the Vice Mayor for changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that item 9L be moved to item 18 and item 9M be moved to item 19.
Thank you. I have a motion by Richardson, a second by Vigil. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. Vice Mayor? If you can set the agenda, please.
Thank you. I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
I have a motion by Richardson and a second by Shumway. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Opposed? Let's let the voice of heaven come down. Opposed? None? That motion passes. And we will go on next to a proclamation that we have for the 2025 Hunger Action Month. Whereas this month, communities across the country are remembering more than 47 Americans suffering from hunger or food insecurity. And whereas in Wyoming, more than 90,000 people, nearly 27,000 of which are children, struggle to meet their basic nutritional needs and don't know where their next meal will come from. And whereas the city of Laramie is committed to working with Food Bank of Wyoming, a member of the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks, in educating people about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger issues. And whereas more than 17% of individuals in Albany County rely on food provided by the members of Food Bank of Wyoming annually. And whereas the members of Food Bank of Wyoming distributed more than 10 million meals to more than 55,000 Wyoming families in 2024 through its network of food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and other community organizations. And whereas the month of September has been designated Hunger Action Month in order to bring attention to food insecurity in our communities and to enlist the public in the movement to end hunger by taking action, including volunteer shifts, social media shares, and donations to ensure every community and everybody in it has the food they need to survive. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sharon Cumby, Mayor and President of the governing body of the city of Laramie, Wyoming, do hereby recognize September 2025 as Hunger Action Month and encourage all citizens of Laramie to increase their understanding and awareness of food insecurity and how it impacts our nation, our state, and our community. Thank you. And I believe, let's see, we have Jenna Robertson here, and we have Kathy Stepp, and we have Shelley Schwirkowski. Did I get it right? Oh. Would you all like to come up? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for reading that proclamation for us. I just have a small statement if I could. First of all, I'd like to thank you and Laramie City Council for the opportunity to be here this evening and your support for Hunger Action Month. Hunger Action Month is a nationwide movement to raise awareness about food insecurity in our communities. At Food Bank of Wyoming, our mission is to ignite the power of community to nourish people facing hunger. We have a strong community of volunteers, a dedicated community of donors, and most importantly, a selfless community of hunger relief partners. Laramie Soup Kitchen, Laramie Interfaith, and Polk's Pantry are just 3 hunger relief partners right here in your own community that serve our neighbors with dignity and grace. So we're here today to ask the council and the Laramie community to take action by donating, volunteering, or just simply spreading the word that 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 5 children in Wyoming are facing food insecurity every single day. Thank you so much for your time and for reading the proclamation for us.
Thank you very much, Shelley. And would you all like to come up and have a picture with council? And
I would adore that. Yes.
And you can just push that either way. Yeah.
All right. Next, we will move on to public hearings. And we do have 4 public hearings. And so after each, I will ask if there's any public comment on that public hearing. And then we'll move on to the next and the next and the next. So City Clerk, if you can begin.
Notice is hereby given that on the 26th of August, 2025, an application was received in the office of the city clerk for a new bar and grill liquor license number BG-20 for Laramie Plains Civic Center, Inc., doing business as Griffin Theater located at 710 East Garfield Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for a license term of September 17th, 2025 through May 7th, 2026. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at Council Chambers, 406 Ivinson Avenue, or via Zoom. Meeting ID 862-4625-2952, passcode 311605. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? All right, hearing none. City Clerk, if you can move on to the next.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on September 16th, 2025 in City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting shall be held with both an online Zoom and in-person option to take public comments on the following: original ordinance 2110, amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 15 related to housing codes. This application has been submitted by the City of Laramie. All applications, plans, and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present at City Council Chambers or via Zoom webinar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Yes, sir. And if you could state your name for the record, thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you. My name is Ryan Shields. My wife Courtney and I live at 1822 Geronimo Way. And we're here tonight to speak against the part of the amendment that's under Section 3, essentially the change in the zoning allowances. and ask for your consideration to make some modifications before that moves forward. Our concern is that that would open up the door for the building high-density multifamily housing structures next to existing single-family homes like ours without sufficient public input or comprehensive review by the Planning Commission. So when we purchased our lot in Grandview Heights and built our home there, we did the research. We looked into the types of development that could, progress next to us, and the fact that there was a conditional use permit process in place for high impact developments like multifamily housing was a big factor in the decision to, purchase that lot and make our home there. So, needless to say, changing the rules now, something we're not agreeing with for sure. The bill text that argues for this says that it's a best practice to remove this public process. I would argue that anytime you eliminate transparency in government, anytime you eliminate part of the public involvement process, that is never, ever a best practice. And that this conditional use permit process is there for a reason, just for, adjacent property owners like ourselves. So we agree that there's definitely a problem with housing and shortage, and that there's been a lot of work done and talk about that lately. But, what we would hope for is that there's a more measured approach than just completely redoing that table, that there's, room for compromise, that there's a way to both encourage development in many of these parcels that are subject to this, while also providing protections and maintaining this process for, a handful of cases like our own. So that's our request. We would, respectfully ask your consideration for. Thanks very much for the work you do for the citizens of Laramie. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your being here tonight. Any other public comment on this public hearing? City Clerk, if you can move on to the next.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on September 16th, 2025 in City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting shall be held with both an online Zoom and in-person option to take public comments on the following: original ordinance number 2111, amending Laramie Municipal Code section 15.22.020 related to non-conforming uses of structures. This application has been submitted by John Raffoni. All applications, plans, and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present at City Council Chambers or via Zoom webinar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none. City Clerk, if you can move on to the last one, please.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on September 16th, 2025 in the City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting shall be held with both an online Zoom and in-person option to take public comments on the following: a proposed application to the Wyoming Community Development Authority, WCDA, seeking Community Development Block Grant funding to support right-of-way improvements on North 4th Street. The WCDA administers federal CDBG funds for HUD to support housing, infrastructure, and economic opportunities for low and moderate income residents across Wyoming. To qualify for CDBG funding, projects must meet at least one national objective, primarily benefiting low and moderate income persons, preventing or eliminating slum or blight, or addressing urgent needs. At least 75% of the Wyoming's CDBG funds must support low to moderate income households, defined as those earning at or below 80% of area median income. This WCDA's objectives emphasize empowering local governments to build resilient, resourceful communities that improve housing, neighborhoods, and economic opportunities for low and moderate income residents. The project the city is proposing aligns with federal and state goals and marks the first step in Labonte Square, a multi-phased development that will ultimately deliver 120 to 200 units of affordable and workforce housing. Anyone wishing to comment on this proposed application should be present at City Council chambers or via Zoom webinar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, we will go to announcements.
Mayor, we have one announcement from the Public Works Department.
Good evening.
Hi. Honorable Mayor, members of council, I am pleased to announce the City of Laramie Wastewater Treatment Plant has received the 2025 Sustainability Award from the Rocky Mountain Water Environment Association for outstanding results in sustainability practices. This recognition highlights the success of our wastewater treatment plant upgrade project that we had, which set out to reduce energy consumption by 20% through modernization of aging systems. This project far exceeded expectations, however, achieving a 65% reduction in power use, saving the city approximately $19,000 per month in energy costs. These results were possible through innovative upgrades, including replacement of outdated blowers with high-efficiency, high-speed turbo blowers, conversion of digesters to aerated sludge holding tanks, and major improvements in aeration and piping and process controls. You may remember the city also received $352,200 in incentives from Rocky Mountain Power's WattSmart program, and this is the largest incentive ever awarded by the utility in Wyoming. And this project has become a model for other utilities pursuing sustainability and energy efficiency. With this, I do want to recognize and thank Mark Hazlett and Bill Schott for their leadership and hard work on this project. And along with our consultant, they presented this project at the Rocky Mountain Water Conference in August, where they accepted this award on behalf of the city. This recognition not only celebrates the impressive energy and cost savings at our wastewater treatment plant, but also underscores Laramie's commitment to sustainability practices and responsible stewardship of our community resources. And with that, if council is agreeable to it, I'd like to invite them up for a picture with you guys. They brought the award and everything for that.
And then City Manager.
Mayor, we are going to reschedule our Rockstar recognition for tonight based on what we think is a miscommunication. So,
okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Now moving to our regular agenda. Oh, no, I forgot that part. Thank you. Council, are there any disclosures or conflicts of interest? All right. So, Vice Mayor, approval of the consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda be approved, and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
I have a motion by Richardson, second by Vigil. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Newman.
Yes.
Vigil.
Yes.
Freed,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Cumby.
Yes,
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
thank you, City Clerk. Counselor O'Doherty, item 11.
I move to award the work authorization to the construction manager at risk, Hensel Phelps, for the West Laramie Main Lift Station project for a guaranteed maximum price of $10,894,861, and to approve Resolution 2025-75, amending appropriations for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 biennial budget of the city of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by O'Doherty, second by Newman. Good evening, Director Webb.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Another big project in the wastewater division. Mark and Bill have both been intimately involved in this project and will continue to be. The project includes replacing the West Laramie lift station through the CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk Delivery method. The current lift station out there is approaching the end of its useful life, and it has significant deterioration in the dry well structure. The dry well houses pumps and controls, and it's made of steel, and that's important because it's 26 feet underground and is in contact with groundwater a lot of times of the year. So it deteriorates from that. A lot of the seams on that tank are becoming rusted. It's been in the ground for a long time. The new dry well will be epoxy coated steel to extend the useful life. The new lift station will be safer for staff for their routine maintenance. Right now, the lift station, when they go in there for any maintenance, there's a little ladder that goes down in this confined space. So we have to pump in ventilation and all this. It's really archaic. The new one will have a staircase with handrails, built-in ventilation into the system for staff as they go in underground. The new wet well will be concrete. The facility currently serves approximately 10,000 residents, basically everybody in West Laramie. All their wastewater goes to this lift station and then is lifted up to the plant for treatment. Design of the new facility started in 2023. Tetra Tech and Hensel Phelps completed the design in spring of 25 this year. In April of 2024, council approved an application for a state loan and investment board for an SRF loan. And then in October 3rd, 2024, State Loan and Investment Board approved that loan application for $9.5 million. Last week, we received concurrence from SRF DEQ staff regarding the contracts for construction that are in front of you tonight. I'd like to go to the second page of your summary sheet on the financial side and talk to you about what we're doing. And then after I do that, I'm going to ask Director Wade's going to come up and talk to you about the health of the wastewater fund, and then we'll take any questions you have. So on your second page there, I'm going to kind of go down to that bottom chart. There's four kind of Excel sheets there. I'm going down to the bottom one, the proposed cost for this project. So you'll see the second line there, the current budget is $10,183,500. The total proposed project budget for this construction design CMCA is $12,398,500. If you do the math, it's a 2.215 shortfall. So is what we're proposing and recommending through the resolution is a budget amendment of $1,825,000 from wastewater reserves. And then we're disclosing a transfer from the A-line design project of $390,000. When we got the guaranteed maximum price in, we sat down with staff and really dove into the capital plan and said, what can we do to minimize the impact to the fund? And the A-line project kind of popped out at us. A few years ago, we completed the line in Banner Road. That's the line that feeds directly into the wastewater or directly into the lift station. The A-line project was to upsize the A-line and fix some infiltration that's there. Well, looking at it, we don't know that we can really upsize the A-line because it feeds into the banner line, which is a little smaller. We can't feed a bigger line into a smaller line. And then we think we can handle the infiltration. We did some investigation with lining the A-line. So currently in fiscal year 26, we have the $390,000 for design that we want to transfer over for this project. And then in next year, we had planned on 2.1 million for that A-line upgrade, which will basically go away at this point to help minimize the impact to the fund. With that, I'm going to ask Director Wade to come up and talk about the overall health of the fund, and then we'll take questions on the finances or the project or whatever you got.
Thank you, Director Wade. Director Wade.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. So I thought it might be good tonight to do just a little bit of education about our wastewater fund. It is one of our smaller enterprise funds. Most people think first and foremost about water. And at the end of 2024, if you compare what we would consider to be a measure of available resources in each fund, water had 32 million and wastewater had 18 million. So it's about half the size of your water fund. And it has a very different rate structure. While the rate structure is based on consumption, specifically an average of water consumption in January, February, and March, and so our low months, it's also a flat rate attached to that consumptive measure. And so it works very differently from your water fund. And especially with the conversations about surface water drainage, we thought it might be nice just to highlight some of these points tonight. And so this fund with $18 million of available resources at the end of 2024, thinking about a project of this size, right, a $12 million project, that's a pretty significant project, especially when you consider that this project, when it started, was actually projected to be about $4 million. So we've gone from 4 million to 12 million in just a couple of years from a financial planning standpoint. And I will say that Director Webb has done absolutely everything in his power, including securing $9.5 million and financing at a 0.75% interest rate over 20 years to amortize the cost of this very important project over a long period of time to really minimize the impact of this increase to ratepayers. He's also been very forward-looking, like he is with the rest of his projects, to try to move projects around. But because we're actively engaged in financial planning for these utility services, I just wanted to tell you that a fund of this size is not really built for millions of dollars of swings. And so just to give you a little bit of history for the rates in this fund, we had no rate increases in water or wastewater. We haven't had any increases in solid waste since 2018, and that's extraordinary if you think about it. So no rate increases in water or wastewater in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. You can probably guess why we didn't have rate increases in 2020 or 2021. Even though the funds really needed it, we were not willing to propose that to the public, given what was going on with the pandemic. Since 2021, in 2022, 23, and April of 24, we've had 2 4% rate increases and a 5% rate increase in the wastewater fund. And when I look forward for the 10-year period, what I see right now is the need to likely increase rates in this fund more than other city enterprise funds, just because it's a fund that is smaller in size, and the infrastructure needs, especially just with inflation and that period of no rate increases, have actually really grown, in my opinion, a little bit beyond the ability of the fund to keep up. And so I want to make sure that we're very transparent about that, to tell you that I think that Director Webb and his team have done an excellent job spreading the cost of this out. If you think about that loan, $9.5 million over 20 years, that's about a $500,000 a year debt service payment. And if you remember from Mr. Japp's presentation just a few moments ago, we are saving $220,000 a year in energy costs. And so I do see staff doing what they can to really spread out these costs, but this is a pretty small fund and this is a very large project. And I just want to point that out to the council, especially because we have a lot of new members and a lot of folks are really interested in these utility rate planning processes right now.
Thank you, Director Wade.
Yeah, Mayor, with that, thank you, Director Wade. With that, staff recommends award of the work authorization of the construction manager at risk and approval of resolution 2025-75 amending appropriations for the fiscal year. But we'll take questions if you have.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
Director Webb, is the biggest capital project outside of the wastewater treatment plant that's involved with wastewater? Do we have another lift station in other places in town?
In my tenure, this is the biggest one we've done. We did do the project which was the main lift station years ago, and I don't know if Eric may remember, but I'm guessing it wasn't at this cost just because of the inflation down, that's occurred over the years. So since I've been here, yeah, this is even a higher cost than the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project was.
Other questions? Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Webb and Director Wade. So I know we're working real hard not to raise prices. Do we see any increases coming then for wastewater? Since we've tried to not do increases except maybe the last couple of years.
Yeah, Mayor, through you, I think what I heard from Director Wade is that we will expect some rate increases within the wastewater fund in the near future.
Follow up. Do we have any idea on what percentage at this time?
Yeah, Mayor, through you, I don't think we're there yet. We're working with our rate consultant and working through the financial plan now.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. And just for clarification, Director Wade, did I hear correctly that we have not increased solid waste since 2018, but we increased water, the 4% and 5% over those last 4 years or whatever. Is that correct?
We increased water and wastewater in 22, 23, 24. The rates I gave you were just for the wastewater increases.
Okay.
4%, 4%, and 5%.
Thank you for that clarification.
And Mayor, you're correct. 2018 was the last time solid waste was increased.
Further questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
So I told you I'm fascinated by lift stations. So do we have a main lift station? Is that at the wastewater treatment plant? Is that how it gets into? I'm trying to picture.
It's okay. Yeah. Mayor, through you, the main lift station is actually on this side of the river, the east side of the river, down off of PFE Road. And that collects everything on this side and then pushes it across the river and up the hill to the plant. The West Laramie lift station is actually right outside the front gate of the wastewater treatment plant, and basically has to lift it up the hill to the plant. And then we've got another one, and we got 3 more. Smaller ones. The West Laramie lift and the main lift are our 2 big lift stations.
Follow? Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The reason I'm asking is trying to get an idea of how often does a capital project this big come along? And it sounds like it could happen frequently enough that it's a big deal. And to see that cost increase in such a short time from what you projected, I think it's a good example of just infrastructure costs a lot of money. And the city has to find a way to pay for this. So I appreciate the staff that I know it was a big lift. So thank you.
Mayor, through you, that normally these projects, we're talking about 30 to 50 year useful life. And many times we can get more out of that through good maintenance and upkeep.
Thank you. Further questions? Now, to the public, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. I just want to thank you, Director Webb, and your entire department for the work that you have done on this. And I really appreciate it. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Freed,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
Behill,
Yes.
Bowling,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 12, Councilor Vigil.
Sorry, Mayor. Thank you. Let me make sure that I want. Okay. I move to approve amendment number 03 to the professional engineering services agreement with Tetra Tech for the West Laramie Main Lift Station project in the amount of $790,000 and a contingency of $79,000, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second. I have a motion by Vigil, second by O'Doherty. Good evening, Director Webb.
Mayor, so this is the construction management, construction administration contract for the project we just discussed. Tetra Tech was the designer of that project, and so of course they're very familiar with the project. They'll be working closely with our construction manager at risk, Hensel Phelps, and city staff through the project. Their side of things on this project are a little different, a little more complicated than a normal project. With an SRF loan, there's a lot of federal requirements that are involved. They'll be having to track the materials, time, wages, things like that. And so a little bit more of a heavier lift on the CMCA on this one than any other project. But we've been really successful with Tetra Tech on other projects, such as the upgrade project that we did out the wastewater treatment plant. So with that, I'll take any questions if you have.
Thank you. Questions, councilors? I see none. To the public, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council. Any final comments? Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Webb. It feels like a no-brainer to have the folks that designed it be a part of the project. So thanks for making that happen.
Further comments? Vice Mayor.
One other quick one. I guess just to really emphasize it from my understanding, which is limited, when you are working with the more federal requirements, that lift, it takes so much time to make sure you've got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And then if you don't get those correct, then there's even more work on the end to go back and to correct it. So it's a chunk of money for sure, but I think it is probably well worth it to make sure things are on track and we don't end up in not a great place. So thanks.
Further comment? I just want to acknowledge your work again. And I know that this is a large project, but it is going to benefit a third of our population, and to provide us the infrastructure that we need in order to further develop West. And so this is really important. So thank you. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 13.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the application for a new bar and grill liquor license number BG-20 for Laramie Plains Civic Center, Inc., DBA Griffin Theater, located at 710 Garfield Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term September 17th, 2025 through May 7th, 2026, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second. I have a motion by Richardson, second by Vigil. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The application before you tonight is for the Laramie Plains Civic Center. We received the application in our office on the 26th of August. As you know, we have a couple of movie theaters in town that operate with a bar and grill liquor license. We also have the new Wyoming horse racing facility that also has a bar and grill liquor license. Some of these facilities are using the new provisions within Wyoming state statute to incorporate entertainment sales within their 60-40% split. So for those that may not be familiar, the 60% can come from food sales and entertainment. The 40% cannot be exceeded with the alcohol sales. So in your cover sheet, we included some of the state statutes and Laramie Municipal Code, just to keep you familiar. With a bar and grill liquor license, it is for on-premise consumption only, which means no alcohol may leave the building. Also, the 60-40 split, which we've talked about, and that anytime food sales stop, the alcohol sales have to stop as well. In your agenda packet, there was a menu included. They do have an idea of snack boxes, which could be it says an assorted handheld snack with curated seasonal sliced meats, cheeses, produce, and treats. So they've got a few different ideas that they want to work with. And they have been in contact with Cody Talbot, our environmental health specialist, to make sure that their space accommodates that. With that, we have Jessica Brewer here tonight from Laramie Plains Civic Center. So if you have any questions, she's happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Jessica. Council, any questions for Jessica Brewer? Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. Jessica, in the introduction, they indicated that no alcohol will leave the building. I want to make sure that we're not talking about the Griffin Theater, but we're talking about all 4 floors of the Civic Center.
Correct. So while the predominant serving area will be the Griffin Theater, in our conversations with the State Liquor Commission representative, he suggested that we license the entire property as to open us up for opportunity to sell in the event that we host an event elsewhere in the building. So our team does not intend to have 4-story parties, hopefully ever. However, the license would cover the entire property, which he mentioned made the most sense since the property ownership is in the name of the board of directors, so the nonprofit organization itself, versus parsing out a corner in that property.
Thank you for that clarification. City Clerk.
Mayor, if I could along those lines, it was clearly stated, though, through the Wyoming Liquor Division that all sales have to come through the Laramie Plains Civic Center, Inc. So one of their other organizations that are renting space cannot utilize, sell alcohol under their license, if that makes sense.
Correct. But they can pull their own license. We had lengthy conversation about this. So in the event that somebody rented the theater for a fundraising event and they were running the ticketing and the entertainment themselves, they could pull a temporary permit from the city and abide by those rules just as any other applicant would. And the fact that we have a licensed bar would not affect that. The only cause for us to pay special attention is to make sure that we sell the alcohol that we purchase and they sell the alcohol that they purchase, as to prevent any kind of cross-contamination issue.
Thank you. Further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor Shumway.
Mayor, I typically vote yes on all the liquor licenses we have. I'm going to vote no on this. I don't think that there's any way that that we can permit such a wide range of. I don't think they have the staff to supervise a wide range of people that would leave the area and move throughout the building. I worry about underage drinking. I worry about what can happen is as the serving area expands into an area that can simply not be supervised.
Further comments? Councillor Newman.
Those are concerns that I've never thought of, Councillor Shumway. But I assume that the Civic Center will do their job, make sure some of that doesn't happen. I think this is a really good opportunity, I think, for the Civic Center to raise some more funds and be kind of more self-sufficient. So I'd vote yes for this.
Further comment? Vice Mayor.
This is for you, Ms. Brower.
In the event of just standard sales that would happen in the theater, we would continue to maintain that same protocol that we've been doing for many years. I suspect that most folks wouldn't know the difference. They'll just notice I can order a glass of wine and I couldn't before. In the event that, we have an event where we are selling alcohol in a different area, we would absolutely replicate those same measures elsewhere to make sure that there was a contained area and that we could keep an eye on things. We are well aware of all of the concerns and the risks that come with serving alcohol. And the unfortunate truth is in the arts, especially maybe it's across the world, the bar is very important to maintaining facilities to do that. And so we hope to be able to do it in a safe manner to keep our tenants and our community safe. And I do think that we have a history of doing that well. Incidents of being overserved or inappropriately served are not represented in our history.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Brower. And I hope I'm not coming through too hot here because it sounded like my volume was a little high. I first want to say that, I am a very big supporter of the Laramie Plains Civic Center. And Ms. Brower has heard me say many times that I believe it to be the cultural epicenter of the city. The number of people, the diversity of people that can gather there and have those spaces accessible is really remarkable. And unlike any place or city that I've ever lived in, I have also been at and attended a lot of events there by which the Civic Center and their staff have used temporary permits. I've never seen that get out of hand. In fact, I've seen staff be really diligent about trying to make sure that people are following rules and are safe. And I understand that it's been burdensome in the past to rely on that for events, and that as a really critical community service organization that is, as most nonprofits are, continually cash strapped. This is an important opportunity for a revenue stream for an organization that I think is one of the most important for our community, and that we should try and give them every opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further comments? I just want to say I've attended numerous events over many years at the Civic Center where beer and wine were served, and it was always low key and well monitored, and there was a cordoning off of things. So I feel, just based on my experience with temporary permits, that everything was done in accordance with the rules and my expectations of it. So I'm in support of this. Great. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please. I already did public. Then we're back to comments now. If you can call the roll.
Newman.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Next, item 14, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. I have it pulled up this time. I move to approve original ordinance number 2110, amending multiple sections of Title 15 of Laramie Municipal Code related to housing as recommended by the Planning Commission on second reading in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
I have a motion from Vigil, second from Richardson. Good evening, Director Tini.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This is the second reading of the text amendment related to some of the housing amendments that we proposed. Just as a reminder, we did present pretty fully on first reading, but we did have some changes that are mostly related all to housing code updates and to promote housing within our community. And so we do see some changes to the minor administrative modification processes, changes to residential uses in the use table, ADA parking, ADUs, streamlining process for alternative front lot line adjustments, driveway length reductions and flexibility, oversizing changes, and increased city participation in those oversizing costs, as well as dwelling live work changes to increase flexibility in housing types. As I mentioned during the first reading, many of these changes are in line with the many housing initiatives that we've put forth as a city, as well as our comprehensive plan. And with this, we've got also following the practice of the ordinance, we've done publications in the newspaper. We held our public hearing this evening. And as noted, we've had 2 public comments on this topic. We had one during that first reading, and then this evening, which you also received the letter, which is in your packet. And so with that, I would be happy to take any questions. But the last reading, there was a few questions that I answered, but I'd be happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Taney. I would just like to know how we can address and help Mr. Shields and his wife's concerns in his letter. He's highlighted under the household living dwelling multifamily where we proposed the conditional use and just did permit. So what can we do to help them and whatnot?
Director?
Yeah, Mayor, Council Member Lockhart. So I think, first off, let's take a look at the changes that we're proposing. So if you look in the report, we've got our current use table, and I'm just going to specifically point out the multifamily line there. Currently in some of the commercial zoning districts, so the NB zoning district, the B1 zoning district, and the B2 zoning district, we've essentially recommended that those uses go from the conditional use process to permitted process. We've also, in the C2 zoning district, done the same, and then added the conditional use process in some of our more intense zoning districts, some of our industrial zoning districts. I think really for council to consider is, do you believe that it's appropriate to allow for by right use of multifamily zoning within our commercial zoning districts? As I mentioned, best practice when we're talking about housing is opening the door to allow for housing to occur where people think that housing should be. If it's in a B1 zoning district, this gives the avenue to go through not a public process, so it does not go to planning commission. So remember, conditional use processes go through the planning commission and are open to the public. Now, just because we receive public comment does not necessarily mean that anything changes in terms of the actual end result. It may or may not be approved, but it is then ultimately up to the planning commission to decide. The whole purpose of this is to make the path easier for housing. And really for council to consider tonight is, do you want to allow that path to be as easy as possible in those zoning districts or not? The conditional use process still allows for housing to occur in those zoning districts, right? It just takes a little bit longer, and it provides for an opportunity for public comment, which public comment is fine. It's a part of our governmental process, and we use that to definitely vet topics and uses, like in this case, that could become controversial, but also too, it adds a level of uncertainty. And we know that the development community lives on predictability. If they can have more predictable direction and approach and know that if they meet our code requirements, then they may be more willing to invest in a property. The other thing that I would point out, and just because I think we're pretty focused based on that public comment and then this topic here, is currently dwelling commercial is a permitted use in all of those zoning districts. That's a few lines below the multifamily. Under the current code, we're expanding that into some of those as a conditional use into some of those industrial areas, but those changes in the multifamily zoning district mirror those dwelling commercial permissions, meaning that all you would have to do to have a use under the current code in one of those zoning districts is simply put commercial space on the ground floor, and you could have an apartment building above it, whatever the height or density that you want within that zoning district. So I think that's really the crux of the argument and the discussion here is, do we want to allow for it to be easier within those zoning districts or continue to operate as we have with the conditional use process being in place? I would note in the public comment, there was some recommendation about potentially existing single family homes and things like that. I would guide this council to steer clear of that. I don't think that it's appropriate to necessarily require a conditional use process or allow for a permitted process based upon the existence of single family homes or any kind of homes. The fact that we want potentially to allow for multifamily use should be based upon the zoning districts that we're talking about and whether we feel that they're appropriate in those zoning districts, not what is nearby or what is going to be nearby in the future. It's all about, do we want these uses in those zone districts? And I think we really should stay focused on that. And I think it becomes a decision of how open we want to be. So,
further questions? Vice Mayor.
Can you remind us of what the height limits are in B1 and B2?
Mayor, council, yes. Give me 1 second. So when we're looking at the zoning district, so within the B1 zoning district, you're permitted to go up to 50 feet. The B2 zone is 65 feet. C2 is 65 as well. Would you like to know more?
I would like that translated into stories, please. Is that like 2 stories for 50-foot house? 10 stories for 50-foot house?
Mayor, council, that's a little more difficult because if you have high ceilings and floors, you can only have 4 stories and 65 feet. You can also do 5 or 6. It just depends upon how tall your ceilings are and what types of equipment you need.
Sure.
Generically, you can say like 12 feet's kind of a good estimate if you have a nice 10-foot ceiling in a unit or something like that. But if you go shorter, you may be able to squeeze another floor in there. So
follow up.
And then what are the height restrictions on a multifamily?
Mayor, council, through you again. It depends upon the zoning district. So if a multifamily building was located within one of those B1 or B2 zoning districts, it would need to be 50 feet or 65 feet respectively. When we look at, just for comparison's sake, if you're looking at the R3 zoning district, which is a more standard zoning district for multifamily, that is also 50 feet. So it mirrors that B1 zoning.
Okay, so really the difference between the height of a B1 building and a multifamily building are no different because they are in the same zoning district. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
Mayor and council, the answer to that would be is the max height of a multifamily building in the R3 and the B1 zoning district would be exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thanks again, Ryan Shields. I don't have much more to say other than to just stress that this is a very, very major change, and it does affect the residents of Laramie quite a bit. You know, I understand wanting to create the easiest path for developers. Well, maybe I don't understand that. I mean, that's good for them. What I would ask is that you look at it through the lens of existing residents and the impact that it's going to have on the citizens, on people that already live here. You know, I don't think that's being taken into account here either. And in my letter, I said that, you know, the city planning has done a great job in terms of, you know, having a progression from high density residential to medium to single family homes. Those things don't coexist together, single family homes and multifamily developments. I challenge you to look at any single multifamily one in the city right now. That doesn't exist. They've done a great job. So all we're asking is to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that we would like the same, you know, level of care and planning next to our property that has been done to this point. So again, I would just stress that this doesn't need to be a one size fits all solution. There's room for compromise, and I just ask your favorable consideration for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Further comment? Yes, Mr. Henderson.
To take away the public comment and the case-by-case review in an intentional fashion, it bypasses the transparency that's assured to people who've bought homes previously, accommodate the master plan, and it also assures that there's some like and similarity value to what their neighbor looks like, what the neighborhood looks like, and whether that's considered deeply enough by planning department. I think it should be by council, and I hope you'll be cautious in going away from a case-by-case basis. With respect to 2021, 260 North Pine Street was involved in a similar consideration of a zoning proposal change, and the density was potentially going to be 83 occupants in this particular space. Had the adjacent neighbors not been able to petition because of their care and their unity in what happened with regard to that space, the 2/3 majority would not have been required by city council to move forward with a plan as allowed under the current zoning of that space. There's great reason and great value in that, and that public comment is most appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody that spoke. This is tough for me because one of our goals is more housing, right? But also our goal is transparency. So it's hard. I think at this time, because it's second reading, I'm going to vote no. And then I encourage anybody that lives in that development area on third reading, if they oppose it, to show up. So that would help if we could get some in any area, not just that area. But if the community itself feels that this should not happen, we need to hear from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilor Newman.
This is probably the single issue that council always fights with, right? We need housing. and then we want housing, but we don't want housing next to us, or we don't want a certain kind of housing next to us. And every time I see housing on our agenda, I always write the same thing: danged if you do, danged if you don't. A constituent reached out and kind of had some of the same concerns that were said here today, and then had overlay question concerns. And I think this is kind of like Councilor Lockhart was just saying. This one's kind of a hard one. And currently, I have no idea how I'm going to vote. So I hope I'm not first.
Further comment, Councilor O'Doherty.
So I thought we were talking about B1. So it's been B1 for a long time. So there's a high school there. There was talk of having, so I'm talking about B1 along Boulder Drive, which is, I guess, the back of that would abut your property on anyway. So yeah, so it would, so it's B1 now, so a lot of things could go right up to that area. So I think that if we were changing something from residential to business and multi-story, I would be more concerned. But I mean, it's already a B1 area. So if somebody built a senior housing or something, probably somebody would want to build something close to that would maybe be good to have near a high school. I mean, that stuff's possible right now with no public comment. So I guess I'm not clear. Anyway, I guess I'm voting for this because I think it's the nature of that district, B1. And to have some flexibility where people could live where they work, I think is helpful. Sorry, it's like stream of consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Shumway, did you have a
Yes, I did. Thank you, Your Honor. I also am in favor of transparency and putting this before the those that make these decisions, the council. And so I'm going to start off with a no, and hopefully we'll gather more information. But as you have heard from everyone, we are looking for every avenue we can to have reasonable housing within our community. So this is going to be a tough one for us, but I think also it's worth a look. And it's worth the input from those people that will be affected.
Thank you. Further comment? Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your thoughts on this location. As everyone else has said, I think this is the #1 item that we look at all the time and that we have really tried to come to terms with and come up with solutions. And one area, and I think maybe Councilor Doherty was alluding to it, where I'm struggling a little bit is that, so it's not the height that's getting people, it's the idea that having more people in an area, if I'm understanding correctly, because it's not the height, because that's all there already, is what is worrisome. And, it was noted that housing is the largest investment that someone makes, and that is true. And by allowing multifamily housing, we are giving more people the opportunity in our community who have said housing is so difficult in our community, to have that opportunity for the largest investment. And so, I know it's tough because everyone acknowledges the issue of housing. And it's like, well, except for can we not do it right here? And that would be great if we then had, but if everywhere is not do it right here, then we don't have a place to do it, right? So I am leaning in favor of this because our community has said they need this. And the B1 and B2 is already there. There are height things that are in place that wouldn't impact with multifamily housing. And when I look at this, and I know the many people who have said, let's fix the problem of housing, this is to me is a pretty clear path. And I know that is hard when you are the person in that neighborhood, right? And you bought it for the reason that you thought this would be, stay a certain way. And so I acknowledge that, and I realize that's really, really difficult. And I keep coming back to what the community at large has asked. And so I think I will vote in favor of this.
Thank you. Further comments? Councilor Vigil.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of bounce off of the Vice Mayor's comments, I look back at that Albany County Housing Coalition survey, and a lot of folks filled that out. And we're always talking about the need for more diverse housing, more accessible housing, and I think that survey was really indicative of that. And particularly when so many community leaders are coming together over an 18-month period to help figure this out, that survey held a lot of weight with me. I know, like, we all have our own feelings about surveys, but I think that's something that's been in my mind lately. And yeah, I agree with what the Vice Mayor is saying here. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I skipped you. Oh, I didn't. Councilor Newman.
Everybody else gets to talk before I get to talk the second time, so it was okay. The reason why I'm having such a hard time with this, and I kind of like Councilor Lockhart's idea of voting no and see if more people show up. But the one part, every time that we talk about housing, the one statement, it doesn't matter what housing we talk about, it doesn't matter, what zoning we talk about, it's always the same comment. Our plan doesn't have to be a one size fits all. And that's the comment that sticks in my mind the most. And so I think that's going to be the one that shoots me to a no vote this time. However, if more people don't show up and make comments, I think it will be a yes vote for me because we need housing.
Councilor O'Doherty.
The way I see it is when it's conditional use, then you have the danger of it looking not fair, that everybody's not being treated the same way. So my husband used to complain that it was never worth it to do conditional use because it would never get passed. I think things have changed, although he's just grumpy. But so I worry about for a conditional use, does it go through the planning department? Is that, yeah, so that's right? It has to go through planning. And so what if the people there don't like this? I mean, we have really good people. I'm just saying it opens up to not treating people the same way. So that's my worry about that. So I thought when I first read this, that this seems more fair because these are the rules for this kind of lot, for this zoning. Thank you.
Councilor Shumway.
I kind of hope that this passes on the second reading, even though my vote will be no. Should it not, it still doesn't prevent housing. It just means that there's one more step. It'll take a little bit more time, but it shows that we're using the planning and zoning, that we're using conditional use, we're using the city council, we're using public input, we're using those things that we should to determine what is the best solution for the city to have improved and greater housing.
Vice Mayor?
Just one comment on, and you are probably all aware of this, but the comment has been made, I'm going to vote no this time and hope we hear it next time. If too many of us vote no this time, we will not hear it next time. So just putting that out there, that if we want more comment and want to hear from more people, that we've got to have a majority voting yes. So.
Director Tini.
Mayor, Council, just to provide some brief clarity just to the conversation, just to make sure it's clear. So currently under code in the multifamily zoning in those business zoning districts, so the NB, B1, B2 zoning districts, C2, the difference is that the Planning Commission makes the decision related to the use being permitted at that location. It's not planning staff. Planning staff will provide a recommendation, but it will go to the Planning Commission where we do our public notice process and things like that. Standards generally are very similar. The conditional use process may maybe require, or the Planning Commission may require certain additional items, which they can do within the purview of the conditional use process. But when we're talking about the use, multifamily is permitted in the B1 zoning district today, just conditionally. So once again, the crux of the conversation is more about, do you feel that the process of multifamily zoning within those B1, B2 zoning districts, the NB and the C2, need to go to Planning Commission for approval, or can a developer just follow the rules of the code and be permitted to be in those locations? Secondly, I will point out, remember, this is only one piece of this whole ordinance. If you have issues with this one piece, I'm going to implore you not to vote no on the whole thing and kill the whole thing. That's the baby with the bathwater. Someone said that up here earlier. You can do amendments to ordinance. You do that in other cases all the time. So that's what you would need to do in this case if you so choose to make changes to this section, whether it's at this reading or a future reading. So
thank you for that clarification. Just in looking at permitted uses of B1 zoning, it can be professional offices, which we are in desperate need of. Those offices could be 3 and 4 stories. It could be personal services, salons, dry cleaners, tailor shops, small retail shops, medical and dental clinics, daycare centers, restaurants and cafes, banks and financial institutions, which could be multi-floors, and art galleries and studios. It just, there's a lot that could be there right now that would not be conditional. That could be 3, 4, up to 50 feet. That could have very large parking areas, but it could dramatically, having what's currently in B1 could dramatically impact that space just as well. So I appreciate Director Teeny, you reminding us that if we get too many no votes, everything gets thrown out, whereas we have an opportunity to make possible amendments. So I'm going to vote in favor of it on this land. City Clerk, call the roll, please.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Shumway.
No.
Lockhart.
No.
Freed.
Yes.
Newman.
No.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses and 3 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 15, Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2111 on second reading, amending section 15.22.020.a of Laramie Municipal Code in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law, and as recommended by the Laramie Planning Commission.
I have a motion by Lockhart, second by Newman. Good evening, Mr. Shahidi.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council. Today we have the second reading of a text amendment that was brought to you by one of your constituents, John Raffoni. He is requesting an amendment to the non-conforming use of structures portion of our code. And not to belabor this too much, since you all heard this previously, what has previously been in code is that if there is a non-conforming use within a structure, that structure is kind of gridlocked into what it was and no improvements and those sorts of things other than just kind of keeping it up and running. What we are suggesting here is to allow for incremental permitted uses to change within that structure and to allow the appropriate modifications to happen within that structure. If you've looked at the staff report from the Planning Commission, you will see that the applicant did suggest other changes. Planning staff did believe that some amendments needed to be made to that section, which is what we're suggesting for you today and what the Planning Commission recommended approval of. Stand here for questions. And the applicant and his representative is here as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, questions? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. And our next item, number 16.
I move to approve resolution 2025-76, supporting the submittal of a community development block grant application to the Wyoming Community Department, a development authority for Wabante Square right-of-way improvements, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Behill. Good evening, Director Teeny.
Mayor, Council, good evening again. Before you is a resolution, and essentially the resolution is supporting the city the opportunity to apply for a grant for funding for improvements that we hope to use associated with the North 4th Street redevelopment project. As you all know, we have been working on that project for a few years now. Last funding cycle, we went after WCDA funding as with our the development group that has shown interest in that we are working with to try to redevelop that property. We did not receive funding during the last funding cycle. We, however, are going after that same funding again. However, there is also this opportunity, which is funding for infrastructure through the CDGB grant program through it, which is also through WCDA, so the same organization. And we think this is just another way to potentially bolster this property and this project and address some of the known issues that we have in that area, such as street improvements and that are along 4th Street and some of the side streets there. And so really our hope is this is a supporting document that we submit with our application and shows that the City Council supports us going after this funding. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions related to this, but we think it's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Director Teeny. Councilors, questions? Okay, seeing none. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council for comments. Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. I see this as a great improvement to this area, and I think that this will be a showcase an area that we really have an opportunity to develop and also increase, the stock for housing for the community.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Lockhart?
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councillor Shumway. And when it was mentioned earlier about having maybe a lower level retail and then the multi-housing on top, multifamily housing, I think it's just going to look fantastic compared to what's there now. And the use of the park will increase because of that too. And then improvements around that area. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Freed?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good luck writing the grant. Thanks.
All right. Seeing no further comment, City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Newman,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Freed,
Yes.
Bowling,
Yes.
Behill,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. Item 17, Councillor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve the contract between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and SS Builders, LLC, Cheyenne for the Labonte Park Pathway and Fitness Station Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,388,808 and authorize a construction contingency of $150,000 for total project cost of $1,538,808 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Freed, second by Richardson. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'll try to be as eloquent as I can be, and just looking at the room, there's not very many people standing, so I'll try not to bore you too much either. So last September, the City of Laramie went out for the award grant, the Wyoming Outdoor Recreation Grant. City Council approved that. In October, we did receive the go-ahead and the funding for that. During the RFP process since this last July, we had 6 submittals. After the staff went through and reviewed submittals and did interviews, staff chose SNS Builders out of Cheyenne to complete this project. They came in with the lowest quote. The project will replace the existing path at Labonte Park. They will remove asphalt and replace it with 8-foot concrete, but also replace all of the fitness stations, depending on what we have left for funding and what we find out in the field, depending on soil structures and whatever else. We may look at extending our fitness stations and potentially looking at some curb and gutter improvements in that area as well. This project will also install a path along 5th Street between Shields and Canby along the old little T-ball field right there that we use for a little pitching machine to help with some access through that area as well. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll take it.
Okay. Councilors, questions? Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. When do we get to see a map, of the proposed changes?
I do have a map in the particular, if you look at the overall packet, it's not here, it's on my seat, but there should be a map there that will show it. And if I need be, I can send that to council at large.
Thank you.
Yes, council.
Further questions? Councillor O'Doherty.
Mr. Hunter, is this going to help take care of the gaps we talked about? Like in the, we heard from a gentleman that he twisted his ankle on the path around the Bounty. So is that part of this project too?
Honorable Mayor, through you, Councilor Doherty. I'm guessing that complaint came from the north side of the park, right along the community gardens area. We have probably the worst soil conditions on that side and cottonwood trees that have a tendency to push the path up and tear the path out. We're currently looking at that as the first phase of this project. So hopefully it'll come from 9th Street all the way through what we call 5th Street, that little dirt parking lot, and potentially come down towards the skate park. Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? Okay, seeing none, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council. Comment. Councilor Lockhart?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Houston. I remember the first time that I'd seen these fitness stations, or Mr. Hunt, Hunter. I'm like Houston, Mr. Hunter. I apologize. The first time I'd seen the fitness stations, I'm like, who the heck would use these? You know, I'm a big guy, I like to just lift weights. And then I would see these things used all the time, and I still to this day, and I think how important they've become at the park. So I'm adding on to our 4th Street project, improving that park right now. It's going to be a very well utilized area. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Newman.
I love that we're going to a concrete sidewalk and more pet friendly on the hot summer days. So I appreciate that we're going to that.
Other questions? Other comments? Other comments? Seeing none, City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Shumway.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Behill.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
That motion passes. Thank you, City Clerk. Item 18, Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2107, amending multiple sections within Title 15.24, the Laramie Municipal Code for the purposes of updating city code as a standard practice and as recommended by the Planning Commission on 3rd and final reading in accordance with finding of fact and conclusions of law, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign the ordinance.
Second. I have a motion by Bowling, second by Richardson. Welcome, Director Teeny.
Mayor, Council, this item is the 3rd reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 1524, which is related to mainly our adoption of the building code and the current code series so that it aligns with the state of Wyoming. You'll see in the recommendations too, there's some other minor changes that we've included that are specific for Laramie. And really with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, questions? Seeing none, public comment on this agenda item. Seeing none, back to council for comments. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Behill.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yep.
Cumbie.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 19, Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2108, repealing LMC Chapter 2.20, eliminating the Board of Health as an official board of the City of Laramie, and amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 2.10.010, 2.12, 2.16, 8.04, 8.08, 8.12, and 8.36 on 3rd reading, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion by Freed, second by O'Doherty. Welcome back.
Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance related to the elimination of the Board of Health. This is 3rd reading, and as I expressed during the 2nd reading, this item was brought before the Board of Health. They also signed a similar resolution acknowledging this direction and are in support of that as well. And we'd recommend approval of this, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, questions? Councilor Shumway.
I am in favor of this. I just want to know how many we have on staff that are doing inspections now that the Board of Health is out of the loop.
Chair, Mayor, Council, the health inspections are done by a city staff person. The city currently has someone at 3/4 time, so 30 hours a week. That person is primarily focused on restaurant inspections, as well as helps a little bit with the pool reporting. Mostly our Parks and Rec does the actual pool inspections, and then tattoos and piercing locations. We ensure that all of those are properly maintained and done. The Board of Health actually did not conduct any of those actual inspections or anything like that. And so when we're talking about the same level of safety and review and inspection, none of that is going to change without the Board of Health no longer being active board. So.
Thank you. Councilor Shumway, follow up.
I do have a question. If we did not have a city inspector and we did not do that, wouldn't the Board of Health send somebody from the state to do these inspections on a regular basis?
Mayor, council. So what would happen actually is the duties of those inspections would fall to the state. There's a regional person that would then be need to cover Laramie, essentially related to that. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a directive of the Board of Health. The city would work with the state of Wyoming to ensure that those inspections are done. We periodically have had to do that over the years because when we do transition in that staff position, we don't have somebody in that role that can go do those inspections. And so we then will contact the state and ensure that inspections stay, continue to be conducted so that we have safe establishments. So.
Thank you. Further comments? And I would say that Cody Talbot is very conscientious, and he works well with our local people, and he keeps a close eye on things. And he just pops in. Yep, always be ready for Cody. All right. No. City Clerk, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Back to council, any final comment? Seeing none. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
I don't know where to start now.
Start with me and I will say yes this time appropriately.
Newman.
Yep.
That's not a good trend.
Aye.
Shumway.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Next, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, back to council. Council, consideration of future council work session topics. Councilor O'Doherty.
I've had several constituents, not just my constituents, people around the city that have complained to me about noise of trucks. So I was wondering about our noise ordinance, and I guess I could look at the police report to see how often it's enforced, but I think it would be nice to know about enforcement of the noise ordinance.
I'd second that. I get a lot of loud trucks up and down 15th Street. Any other suggestions? All right, Councilor O'Doherty.
Oh, I thought we had to talk about upcoming meetings, but we don't. Okay, I moved we adjourn to executive session regarding litigation, Wyoming statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Romanet 3, and personnel, Wyoming statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Romanet 10.
Second. Oh, man.
I have a motion by Adorty, a second by Newman. We are adjourned to executive session. Thank you, everyone.
Has to pass by 2/3 vote.
Oh, sorry. City Clerk, if you can call the roll. Or great.